you can emotionally control somebody. I'll tell you who's excellent at this. Women. Women are fantastic at this. If a woman realizes she can piss you off with X thing, she'll notice it. She'll keep it in her pocket. You know what? That annoys him. Cool. Sorry, baby. Sorry. 3 weeks later, 2 months later, they realize when you're vulnerable.
I get at least one text message a day of a screenshot of some dude telling some girl somewhere in the world, I'm sorry it's come down to this. There's so much about you I'm going to miss. And look at that song. You know, telephone rang about 8:45. She heard his voice on the other end of the line and wondered what was wrong this time. This man is living on the road. He's like these guys that we talk about that aren't appreciated. This is a truck driver. This is a guy in the construction business. This is a guy out on the road trying to build an empire for his family to have a legacy. Every man's got his own rodeo.
Sometimes life can really hijack your mind. When that happens to you, you're all up. Your goals, your ambitions, everything is out the window. In life, we all go through different things. Sometimes your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you. Guess what? Get the over it. They no longer want you. Maybe you failed a test in school. You worked your ass off. Guess what? You failed the test. Get over it. Move past it. Learn to not let life hijack your brain.
I can tell you this. I can tell you the experience from fighting. When I was fighting, I was a kickboxing world champion, right? I never made millions from fighting. So I was making money, but I mean, I was probably fighting 2 or 3 times a year, and most I ever got paid was 100, 150 grand a fight. So I was kind of normal life. And whichever girlfriend I had at the time, no matter what, she always managed to start some asinine, stupid, immature fight with me like 3 days before a fight. Because I'm weight drained. I haven't eaten. I'm nervous. I can't sleep. I've been training for 10 weeks. This monster's from Kazakhstan, some psycho. I have toilet seat. I'm like, the fuck? Toilet seat. I might die. He can kill me. But she knew that's when I was weak. She knew it. And that's when you can be emotional, but they detect it. This is when I can get it. I think the reason a lot of men want to become rich is because they want to feel loved or feel important or to matter. Mm-hmm. I also feel like the reason that a lot of men do the things they do is for love, either of themselves or of someone else. I think the reason men go to work is because they love their family. The reason you go to the gym is because you love yourself. That's how it goes. I've been head over heels in love with women. I didn't want to lose them, and they weren't listening, so I walked away, and they didn't chase me, and I lost them. But that's it. My honor's intact, my pride's intact, and now I don't give a fuck anymore because time's a hero. That's life. So It's better than staying in a relationship which I'm not happy in because she starts acting like a...
At work, you've been working your ass off for that new promotion. You don't get it. Someone else does. Maybe they kiss better ass than you do. Guess what? Get over it. Life will hijack your mind if you let it. Don't allow all these things to make you a lesser person. You must own your mind. Don't let life own yours. Get after it. Stay hard.
And it's kind of like, I use chess analogies a lot, but it's kind of like chess. If you're playing a game of chess and you're in a losing position, and the only hope you have of winning is a big sacrifice, you give up your queen. And you don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's the only hope. You're better off making the sacrifice even if you lose, because if you don't, you're just going to slowly get ground down and definitely lose in the end. Right. Like, do you love you so much you'd rather delay the breakup by 7 months and lose without any pride or honor? Yeah. And leave without any pride or honor while she cheats on you? Isn't it better just to say right hand in the air, you're not talking to that guy anymore? Like, the end is coming. If she chooses to talk to that dude over you, the end is certain. So can you have enough balls to just say bye and at least leave with your head held high?
You know, she wondered what his cause might bring. With a cowboy like him, it could be anything. I was a cowboy, just a steel cowboy. Just chasing these jobs all over the country, man. You know? And of course it goes into the other parts, you know, where she's like, I found somebody new, and he's saying he sure ain't no rodeo man, you know? And so right there, he has a decision. He can either argue and beg and all this other stuff, or he can leave that phone dangling off the hook, give it one last look, and just walk away.
What you have to do when it's not working with a girl is wish them luck, to give them the best of luck, wish them luck, walk away, and don't look back.
And that particular part is a part that I assume that you're talking about. And that, my friend, takes what we in the war room call an iron mind. At that point in the relationship, if that boundary is crossed, you can non-emotionally say what you have to say and say, listen, it's either going to be this way or it's not. And a woman is either going to have to respect you or lose respect for you. And that respect is going to be held within whether you can hold your ground or not.
No, I don't want to go home. No, now I actually want you to go home. Please leave my house. Oh, no, I didn't want to leave. Bye. Goodbye. Fuck you. Next girl. So they get you when you're weak, right? Yeah. And anyone who can emotionally control you and emotionally affect you has power over you.
I've done it, and I've lived through the pain of it. And you just have to ask yourself, whose will is stronger, me or this 100-pound woman who is naturally, genetically more emotional than me? Am I going to let her beat me at a game of will and strength of the mind when I know that she's naturally more emotional than me? That, and understand that if you start contacting her or blowing her phone up or watching her stories or phoning her mom and doing all of these things that are emotional actions, she's naturally going to be less attracted to you.
I have a question about the warrior mentality. I recently was dumped on a deployment, and it's difficult now that I'm home stateside. How does a warrior handle this? Is it like any other emotional loss? I'm trying to use this loss and get after it and improve myself mentally and physically.
And so, agree. Sometimes you can keep it at bay when you're deployed, but then when you get home and you get back to the places, the familiar places where you have the specific memories, that's where the pain starts to come in. And that's fine. That hurts. We get that. But in my opinion, I've said this before, the person that you built in your mind, the person that you had a relationship with that you built in your mind, that person doesn't actually exist. They're not real. They're not real. She wasn't who she appeared to be. And she isn't who she appeared to be. She isn't the sweet, understanding, fun person that you cared so much about. That's not her. That's your memory. That's what you built in your head. She is actually the selfish, self-centered person that cares about herself first and doesn't care about you. That's the reality. And that's fine.
And you're going to push her further and further and further and further away until she lands on something you don't want her to land on. And that's the dude down the street, right? So you have to know that it's going to take an iron will in mind to be able to do this, because there's no pain greater than heartbreak. But you're not doing yourself a service by begging a woman to come back or catering to her breaking the rules of your frame, because she's not going to respect you if you can't be strong enough to have her be inside your frame. So I do believe respect equals love, and any man that wants to garner respect for a woman, particularly in a breakup, needs to be able to leave the phone dangling off the hook.
And you're still going to get those emotions. Those things are still going to hit you, but walk away and don't look back. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, if there's any chance that it's going to work out, the best possible way for you to get it to work out is by walking away, by wishing them luck, walking away, and don't look back. That's the best way.
How so?
Because if there is something there, then she will let you know eventually. And if there's nothing there, you're going to know that too, because you never hear from her again. That's fine. The protocol for getting her back is to walk away and don't look back. That's the protocol, is to move on. The protocol, if she doesn't want you back, is to walk away and don't look back. So look, and I know it's hard, but you'll get some of those waves, but those waves will become less frequent and they'll become less powerful, and eventually you can move on. And then, the last thing I'll say about this is, in both these scenarios, is remember but don't dwell. But a lot of times the pain that we feel isn't based on the reality. It's based on the fantasy. So you're feeling pain of losing something that wasn't real. So let the fantasy go. Remember that she is not the perfect person that you built in your mind. Period. She's not. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. And then move on, brother. Get after it. Work out. Train hard. Go to jiu-jitsu, hike, run, play guitar. Just get after it. And those things, not only are going to distract you from the pain, which is good, they're going to improve you as a human being, which is good, and they're going to rebuild your confidence, which is good. They're going to make you feel good. They're going to make you stronger and smarter and better and put you into a place where you don't need that little made up fantasy anymore.
I like to say if a woman is treating you wrong, if you've got, all the shit that happens to you, it's because of you. So how does the man become the guy that doesn't have this shit happen to him?
I 1,000% agree with you. Men, they respect. Mm-hmm. That's it. They like, they love, and they respect. If she loves you and likes you and doesn't respect you, she will not have sex with you. I have women who respect me and fucking hate me, but they're here every time I call. So if they respect you, they're going to sleep with you. Yep. And this is something that's biological and evolutionary. They respect. So how do you make women respect you? Well, first you have to be worthy of respect as an individual. There's no hack. If you're worthy of respect, you're worthy of respect. But secondly, you cannot allow blatant disrespect. So if you allow her to blatantly disrespect you and you tolerate that, then you're setting a precedent, which means, well, why would I respect this guy in the first place? Right. From the second you got together, you should have been a man, and you haven't got to be an asshole. You haven't got to be aggressive. I'll sit with a girl and very politely say, look, if we're going to be in a relationship, if I'm going to take you seriously, you're not going to have male friends. If you want to hang around with a whole bunch of men, then I'm not going to take you seriously. I lay it on them. Now, if they choose to keep all their male friends, then that means she's chosen those friendships over me, which means sooner or later she was going to cheat anyway. Like, how long until she jumps on a new anyway? So why would I even be upset about it?
Just walk away. Yeah. Catch that rodeo cowboy. Because guess what? In a few years, when you win the rodeo, the phone's going to ring again. Then it's up to you what to do. Right. Right. And you can shock a woman that way. I've had conversations like that. It's like, you know what? I don't even act like a hard ass. I'm really going to miss you. I'm really going to miss you. Take care. And she's like, wait, what? That's it? Cold.
Honor your friends. You remember what they gave you, what they taught you, what you learned from them, what was great about them, what you miss about them. You remember all those things, but you don't dwell in the past and dwell on those thoughts and dwell on the loss all the time, because that's not healthy either. And it's not going to help you. And it's not what your friend would want you to do anyways.
That's another Petersonism from his Rules for Life. He says, if memories still make you cry, write them down.
Yep. That's I talk a lot about being able to detach from your emotions, and it's very important. Well, when you write something down, you are literally detaching from those thoughts because they're going out on a piece of paper that then you can see. So it's a very important thing to do, to write down if there's emotions that you have to deal with, write down. And I just like to give someone some kind of an objective. So instead of just saying write down the emotions, no, write that person, tell them, and that will kind of be like a writing prompt. Certainly writing down your emotions, your feelings, what you're going to miss, what you loved about them is very therapeutic, and it's very good. And so that's another thing I recommend is you write that stuff down and you bring it to them.
Gotta be a G, bro. That's the game. The hard part about this world, like, people complain about women, but I think being a man, you actually have a better shot. Because a lot of times women, they get all of their value at early. They get beauty. And that is a currency in this world. Beauty is a currency. So they get all their value at an early age and they get this beauty. But as a man, you're not guaranteed to ever have value, but you have the opportunity to rule your own world. And what's tricky and harmful or hard for women, I believe, and why I feel sorry for women sometimes, like, I don't think women have it easy, is because they can go conquer the same things that we went to conquer, except they've disqualified themselves from men. A woman that makes a bunch of money might as well be 6'4". Like, she puts herself out of the dating pool because of hypergamy wants you to go to cross her up. Mm-hmm. So the more financially successful she gets, the harder it is to find a date to prom because she's taller than all the boys. Yeah. I'm not saying that's fair. I believe women in the workplace are fucking phenomenal. I'll be the first one to say that. I feel for them because they run into that scenario. And that particular young lady will probably have to go so high up the pecking order that once she finds a guy that she can submit to like that, he's probably going to have multiple women.
And they're going to put you in a place where you're going to find something better than the fantasy. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the fantasies don't exist. The perfect girl or guy for you doesn't exist. They don't exist. So you're going to be out looking for someone that's good, but you're not going to find perfect. Don't get obsessed with finding perfect. If you find someone that's perfect, it's not true. Everyone's got their flaws. So that's what you have to do. And you will end up finding someone that's real. And I get it, man. I know you're going to have some moments down in the hole, as Alice in Chains put it, or trapped in the heart-shaped box, as Nirvana put it, or so lonesome you could cry, as Hank Williams Sr. put it. You notice a theme here? This is what people go through. But those feelings, they're temporary, so let them say hi. Let them hang around for a minute or for half an hour or an hour or whatever, and then kick them out. Kick those feelings out. Get them out of there and go do something else.
And this is the point. But most men don't say anything. They let it slide and they let it get completely broken. And they come to me and say, well, how do I fix it? It's like, well, you have to make it not let it get broken in the first place. You need to understand your boundaries and expectations as a man. And you have to set them, and you have to make sure she complies and sticks to them. And if she doesn't, you're going to have to find somebody else. Yeah. And this is another thing I talk about being a playboy. I have lots of guys come to me and say, oh, Tate, but I don't want to be a playboy like you. I say, look, if you want to be happily married, the best thing you can be first is a playboy.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do, because you're going to learn a whole bunch about women. You're going to have a whole bunch of choices to choose for a wife. If you're stuck with one option, the one chick you met, you know, then she might be a dickhead. So, like, being a playboy is important. But yeah, absolutely. For setting your boundaries and stuff and making sure you're not respected, the key is this as a man. This is the bottom line. Most men are not prepared to walk away.
Yep.
And if you're not prepared to walk away, you don't have any weapons. If she knows no matter what, you won't leave, then what weapons do you have? Anything you say, shouting, screaming, yelling, going out away for a few days, whatever. She knows you're going to come back. You have no weapons. The second, imagine a girl came to you and she said, no matter what you do, no matter how many times you cheat, no matter what, I will never leave.
Right.
Think of all the shit you do. I know I do.
Yeah.
So this is the point. So as a man, if you're never prepared to walk away, you're never going to be respected.
Is it fair? No, sir, it's not fair. Is life fair? No, sir, it's not. She'll also break a bunch of hearts of men that tried on the way up. It's quite the predicament that we're in. And I don't think there's a good or bad side in the situation. But as a man, you need to be able to walk away. You need to be able to keep your respect for yourself, and you need to go work on you, because begging a woman back or catering and negotiating will never work. It is just simply a shit test that you will lose in. And I have no hate in my heart for women. I genuinely believe that.
And the woman thinking, you know what, he might just leave, are linked. They have to be there. So you have to mean what you say. You have to let her know, look, there's some things I won't tolerate, and if I'm going to walk away. And if you walk away and she doesn't chase you, then she's gone. At least you saved yourself a nasty divorce and getting cheated on and all that shit. Just end it then and there and save yourself a bunch of time. But men are too afraid to pull the plug on it. I can leave any chick because I got 10 more.
Yeah.
So if she doesn't act right, I'll just replace her for the night and I'll feel better by the next day. I go through a breakup a week. I'm used to it. I don't give a shit. And it's just like, this is part of the game. So you have to be prepared to walk away as a man. So you have to look at any relationship you're in and say, okay, I'm a nice guy. I love her. She loves me, but I have boundaries. And if she fucks with them, I'm going to have to walk.
Take your mind away from those memories of fantasies and build some good memories that are real. Then yeah, you know what? You can use your anger and your frustration to fuel positivity for sure. I spent much of my youth doing that very thing for sure. All those breakups. Yeah, I turn those things into fuel. And the other thing I'm telling you is if you take action with your body, your mind's going to follow. And I was in a SEAL platoon. So that's when you're dealing with guys going through the breakup with the girl and the
messing with my head, man.
Yeah, it's messing with my head, man. Yeah, of course. Every guy goes through that. Me, that's the way it is. You get that weird thing kicking around in there and you start getting crazy. And what's so funny is when you're on the outside of it, it's so like when you're in the heart-shaped box yourself, you just can't see anything else. It's just devastating. Yeah. And everyone that's looking at you is like, bro, let's just go to the bar tonight. You'll meet 17 new girls tonight.
Yeah.
But I like them back. That was my girl. That was my special girl. No, it's not. Yeah. I remember I kind of had this is kind of evil, but I had a kind of a standard response to guys when they'd say, hey, I broke up with Jennifer last night. I'd be like, oh, sweet, man. Let's roll. I would always, and I even carried that, honestly, this is like not something I don't think I would do anymore, but even when guys would be like, hey man, me and Jennifer are getting divorced, I'd be like, oh, right on, bro. Congrats. Let's rock and roll. I kind of, and part of it was just to kind of spin it like, guys, man,
it's not the big deal.
It's not you don't just wallow in it. Yeah. Right? You're getting divorced. Okay. Here's what you need to do. Here's how you maneuver. But what are you going to do? You're going to get dragged down by that into that mire, or are you going to, salvage what you can of your life and let's move on. Let's rock and roll.
These men have never been through any kind of emotional trauma. So the idea of breaking up with a woman is big to them. I've been through, when you've been through real shit, a breakup just doesn't become that real anymore. I've had people try to kill me. I have stab wounds. Tell me again about this girl who doesn't text you back. Like, who gives a shit? There's people in Syria getting bombed.
Yeah.
You have to get some perspective and just realize you're being there's real trauma out here in the world. Terrible things happen day after day. And here you are, alive and breathing and perfectly healthy, and you're going to cry over something. Just man up.
Well, from a networking standpoint, the number one thing you have to remember, because I'm now at a stage in my life where a lot of people want to get to know me. So I see it from the other end. As a younger man, I would introduce myself to people and try to get to know them because they were important. Now I'm on the other side of the equation. The main thing to remember is that if you treat people like you're a fan, then they're going to treat you like you're one of the fans. That's it. If you treat people like a celebrity, they're going to treat you like a fan. So many years ago, even when I was not famous and not even relatively successful or before I had any money, when I would meet famous people, I met a few famous actors through my kickboxing. You'd speak to them one-on-one like a normal person. You'd introduce yourself. You'd ask them their name even, not in an obnoxious way, even if you already know what it is. And the best way to go about it is when you're working in the room and you finally get face to face with these people. Do not ask for selfies. Do not ask for pictures. Do not act shocked or surprised or like a fan. Do not worship them. When I was sitting with that famous rapper the other day, it just sat down on the couch and we were shooting the shit man to man for over 45 minutes, an hour. I didn't ask him about his songs. I didn't ask him about his music. And we just talked like men. So that's the best way to network, I guess, is that when you finally do get the opportunity to speak to people, speak to them like a normal person. Otherwise, they're never going to take you seriously. I'll be perfectly honest. Geography is one of the most important things to that. There's about 5 or 6 cities in the world where the people hang out, and you have to know the places in those cities where the people hang out. So again, you have to have your dress code right. You have to have your manners right. You have to have at least some money to be able to get into the door of those places. The world works in a very strange way when it comes to high-level men and especially beautiful women as well. Imagine it in terms of 3 different rooms, and one room is free to walk inside, and it's where all the fat chicks and the brokies hang out. One room costs $2,000 to walk inside just to get in the door, and there are the average-looking girls and the guys with a bit of money. And then one room costs $100,000 to walk into, and that's where all the 10 out of 10s hang out, and all the millionaires and billionaires and people you want to network with. That's exactly how the world actually works. It's not an analogy, because all of the places where the people who you want to meet are costs at least some money, or you have to have some type of reputation or some type of standing or some type of network or good friends to actually get into these places. The number one thing that I like to do is to get known in all of the best spots that there are. So if you walk into the best restaurant and they already have a table reserved for you 24/7, or the best bar, they've got a spot at the bar reserved for you 24/7, you'll be surprised how many high net worth people who are worth knowing and women will pick up on that. You'll be surprised that when the waiters and the valet parkers and the hotel receptionists know your name and say, hello, Mr. Tate, and treat you with respect, you'll be surprised how many people pick up on that. So tip very heavily, go to the nice places, treat every member of staff with respect, and before you know it, you'll be better known and more respected in your home city. spending a lot of money is an investment. Spending a lot of money on vacation, if I'm somewhere where I'm never going to be again, it perhaps matters a lot less. But even if you do something stupid, very stupid, even if you go to the local casino and you gamble $50,000, say goodbye to everyone and smile and walk out with a smile on your face, you are now a well-known person. If you go out to a club and you spend $25,000 on champagne, a crazy spend that they are never used to seeing, you'll be surprised how often you get asked back and invited back. There's a nightclub actually in Belarus that still messages me to this day, when are you coming back to Belarus? Because they never had anyone walk in there and spend $30,000. So it's a very good way of getting known. And yeah, it is absolutely an investment. It's an investment in your reputation. It's an investment in your reputation, and it's an investment in terms of, what people think of you as a man and your status and your standing, I guess, in the hierarchy of your city.
Your wife breaks your heart. If you're not going to work, you can't sleep anymore. You're upset. She's running around with a new dude. You see her Instagram story. She got some new guy. You're furious and you're angry and you're jealous and you're bitter. You have all of this inside of you, but you're not going to go to the gym and work hard and become so fantastically in shape and so rich and so powerful that no girl ever leaves you again. You're not going to do that. No. What are you going to do with it? Text her? Try and explain to her? She doesn't care. Like, you can write the most perfect English. You can write the most beautiful words ever constructed. Forget Shakespeare. You can do, it doesn't matter. She doesn't care. She just doesn't care. She's distracted. She forgot about you. She forgot about you. So what are you going to do with all of that inside of you if it's not positive? Well, it's going to consume you and you're going to end up self-destructive, or you're going to embarrass yourself, or you can take all of that and put yourself in a position where it never happens to you again. Those are the choices. So what's the most intelligent choice to make? Yeah. I don't understand how many humans function in the world today. I don't get people who don't think like me. I don't understand it. I'm like, well, then how have you survived this long? Life is hard. Life is difficult. Maybe I've just been unlucky, which I don't believe in, but I've had so much trauma and bad events and negativity and stress and all these things that have happened to me. And I've used all of it to be monumentally successful. People are functioning. If you're not thinking like me and you're going through life with any other mindset, you've been extremely fortunate that God smiled on you and allowed you to sit around most of the time doing jack shit. And you have yet to be punished for that. Yeah. I could never have lived that life. If I was a bit lazy or a bit, or I was a bit of a snake, or if I lied to people, I'd be dead by now. Yeah. So a lot of these people are just absolutely and utterly blessed by God that they managed to go through life with such a non-competitive mindset and they still breathing. Like, I don't understand how people can think any other way. Yeah. I've spoken to dudes and like, I had a bad couple months. Why? My girl left me. You've wasted months. You've wasted months. Like you had think of how much God loves you to have given you the grace and given you the opportunity to waste months of human time over some chick. Like, talk about blessed head to toe. If I waste months, empires are going to collapse. I'm going to end up in a cell or dead if I waste months. I have things to do every single day. I can't waste a second. Like, these people are just absolutely infinitely blessed. And their mindset is a product of that because they're spoiled children. Absolutely spoiled children. Because there's a whole bunch of people out here daily who fail. There are men out here who fail daily and they have yet to feel the true consequence for it. They fail to go to the gym when they know they should have gone to the gym. They fail because they forgot their keys and it took them 10 minutes to find them. They fail because they replied to a question they got sent on WhatsApp the wrong way. They fail because they didn't smile when they were supposed to. They didn't say please and thank you to that person who helped them. They fail because they didn't say hi to that girl who's looking at them out the corner of their eye. They just fail perpetually. They go through life missing every opportunity and just failing. And somehow we've built a society which is so soft and God is so giving and so graceful that they still have a place to eat and somewhere to sleep, and they're still surviving. That shows how nice God is. Yeah. Because before this society, truthfully, if you were that level of failure, you would be dead. Survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest. And none of these men out here are fit. No. Their mindset isn't fit. Their reality isn't fit. They're failures. They're failures. Yeah. And they're just failing every single day. And they go, but tomorrow I'll go to the gym. Yeah. You've been failing your whole life. That's all you've done is fail. And then you sit and wonder why people like me absolutely and utterly outcompete you. It is so easy to become a top tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low. There are 2% killers like me and everybody else amateur, head to toe amateur. They can't even pay attention to anything. They can't try anything. They're amateurs. And it's really mind blowing to me because I've tried with all of my computational power to imagine having a mindset different to mine. And I just can't see a reality worth having. I can't see a reality worth living. I can't see how you're going to build a life worth experiencing if you have any other mindset. I've never seen somebody massively succeed and they didn't believe in themselves, ever. I've never seen somebody who just allows life to happen to them and become blown off course by some sadness, end up doing massively monumental and important things. I've never seen it. It does, and it's never going to happen because it's competitor. It's like crypto. It's player versus player. Right. I can sit here right now at power. I can sit here right now and recall events that will prevent me from sleeping for 2 to 3 days. That gives me a superpower that other men do not have. They want to go to sleep. They're tired. I can stop being tired for days at a time. I can just have a thought. I can remember. I can sit, close my eyes, and use the power of my brain to vividly remember events, and I will not sleep for days. And when people come to me and say, oh, this happened, I'm really sad, or my heart broke, or this bad thing happened to me, I say, good. Thank the Lord that he's given you this endless source of motivation. You're wasting it. That's your problem. But it's been given to you. Nitrous oxide has been given to you. You just have to use it in the correct way. So I'm the luckiest man in the world because all the bad things that happened to me have given me all the building blocks to become the most fantastic man on the face of the planet.
Grief. No one escapes it. Not the rich, not the poor, not the famous, not the infamous. Grief is a natural response to loss. Often the pain of loss can feel overwhelming. You may have all kinds of unexpected emotions. You can be angry. You can have disbelief. You can have guilt. There isn't a person listening to me who hasn't encountered grief. You've lost somebody. You've been through some things. Maybe it was the loss of an opportunity. Maybe it was the slow disintegration of a relationship that was once a source of love, and now it is a source of pain. No tear ducts will go unused in this life. The moment the doctor slapped your bottom, you came out of your mama crying. There is no way around it. There is no injection for grief. No medication for grief. It doesn't matter how intellectual you might be, how wealthy, or even how spiritual you may be. Grief without discrimination comes to everybody. Don't let these people deceive you that they are so spiritual they don't know what it is to have grief. They are liars. Every last one of them are absolute liars. While grief is common to all of us, prolonged grief can be physically and emotionally debilitating. Can affect your health. Can affect your mind. It can affect the next relationship you have because you really haven't gotten over your past relationship. How long? How long will you mourn? You should have overcome your grief by now. How long will you weep? How long will you be bitter? How long will you be angry? How long will you sob and mourn and walk around enraged? What good is it getting a divorce if you're still going to be mad? If you're still going to be writing notes and wondering, did you see him and who was he with? You are not divorced. I don't care what the paper says. You are still married. How long? God says, how long will you mourn over a door I have closed? How long will you mourn over a marriage that's over? A job that's gone? A girlfriend that left? A boyfriend that left? How long? How long will you be angry and frustrated and build your whole life around something that is dead?
If you're going to fulfill your destiny, you have to get good at letting things go. Jesus said offenses will come. Disappointments will come. Betrayals, things that are not fair will come. How you handle the hurts will determine whether you move forward or whether you get stuck, bitter over what didn't work out. How many people are living wounded over how they were raised, a friend that walked away? They wonder why they don't have good relationships. It's because they haven't healed. God brings a new person, but they're so insecure. This new person has to keep them fixed. The problem is that's not sustainable. Until you let go of what didn't work out, that wound is going to hinder you wherever you go.
You would be shocked at the people who get up every morning with a heart full of grief. And it comes out in their speech, and it comes out in that snappy way they confront you, and you think they're mean. They're not really mean. They're still grieving. How long? How long does it take to get over a person? How long will you put your future on hold, mulling over your past? How long? I came to get somebody unstuck. I came to get somebody free. You cannot spend your rest of your life grieving over who didn't love you, who wasn't there for you. You're stuck. God did not create you to be stuck with a heart full of grief. It's why you can't fall in love. It's not that there's nobody to love. It's that you haven't gotten over who you used to love. How long will you be angry? How long will you keep checking their Facebook page? How long will you keep investigating somebody who's not even thinking about you anymore? How long will you mourn around the tomb of what didn't work out? There are some times in your life that you gotta get up, wash your face, go on with your life. Life is too short for grieving over who didn't want you, who left you, the job you didn't get, the house that you didn't close on. How long? I don't know who I'm preaching to. You are not yourself. You were not created for this. You were not created to be stuck like this. God wants your nerves and cells and bone and muscles to move. Somebody shout, move. I will not spend the rest of my life hanging around the cemetery of what could have been, what ought to have been.
Look, man, if you got something that's been bothering you in your life, get past it. Don't lay there wallowing in your past, man. Your past is back there.
It's much more freeing when you learn to let things go. Wasn't fair? That's okay. God will be your vindicator. They hurt you once. Don't let them continue to hurt you by holding on to it. Living in mourning is going to keep the new doors from opening.
I want you to think about somebody that caused you some pain. Let me tell you something about the mind. Tell you something super stupid that I used to do. Do you know for years I hated my mother and my father, whoever they were, because they gave me away? And guess what? I didn't have any faces for the hatred because I never saw either one of them. And then once I forgave them and said, had they not given me away, I would have never been blessed to have the mother that I have, who to me is the greatest mother in the world. You can't change the past, but you can reinterpret how you see it. Give an interpretation that empowers you. I let that luggage go. Think about somebody that you've hurt, somebody that you've disappointed, or someone that has hurt you. Look at them in your mind's eye and say, I forgive you. Boy, that's a heavy load to let off.
I want you to live in a continual process of forgiveness. Every day, we should be ready to forgive. I've learned life is full of wounded people. At times they'll be disrespectful. They'll say things they shouldn't. You can't stop the offense from coming, but you can keep it from getting down in you. Joel, I can't forgive them. You don't know what they did. You're not doing it for their sake. You're doing it for your sake. Let it go. You have to give it to God.
Because if you rely on the government, for food stamps, and you can't argue with the government, can you? So that's what they want. So anyone who believes in the Matrix and believes in media and believes in the lies they're told, anyone who sits there and goes, that's true, that it's literally designed to make you broke. That's why it's all a scam. Do your GCSEs, do your A-levels, get in debt, go to uni, get out, get a shit job, get a mortgage. Don't worry, when you've paid that mortgage off when you're 61, then you'll have enough money to go to Spain for holiday. Then your pension comes. Oh, government doesn't have the pension money anymore. Funny enough, hedge fund stole it. Oopsie-doops. And then you wake up one day and go, whoa, I just got fucked. So the whole scam, the whole story is a lie because they want you broke. They don't want you rich. If you're rich, you won't listen to them. So all of it's a fucking lie. And intrinsically, we all know this, right? When I pull up in one of my 30 cars to a gas station and people look at me and they see a Lambo or a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Koenigsegg, whatever I'm driving, nobody goes, wow, he went to school. No, they think drug dealer, gangster. They're thinking he broke the rules because anyone who follows the rules doesn't get shit. It's all a scam. It's all a fucking lie. So the slave minds are fucked, but those are the only ones who are too stupid to make money. Anybody who understands that the Matrix is lying to them is smart enough. So very small percent are too stupid. Inside of our school, at the height of it, before the Matrix attack, we're relaunching now, we had 175,000 students. Wow. We had 175,000 students. Maybe 2,000 we kicked out for being too stupid. It's step by step. Do this, do that, do this, and don't be lazy. Fuck. It's not that hard, right? So stupid's not the problem. So we have people who are lazy, very few are stupid, but the majority, the main reason most people are broke, because they are arrogant. I will sit here and say all the things I've said. I will do this, take time out of my life for free. Somebody at home will watch and digest it for free. They will agree with the things that are being said, or at least be entertained enough to continue to watch. And then I'll say, I'll teach you how to make money online. CobraThink.com, you can join the real world. And they'll sit there and go, nah, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. They have these egos from fuck knows where because they didn't earn it. And they're just too arrogant to listen to anybody. I became world champion by listening to my coach. I didn't become world champion by walking in and saying, I'll do it myself. That's not how you get anywhere in life. You have to listen. If Mike Tyson were to walk in, or if Elon Musk were to walk in here and talk to me about money, I wouldn't be sitting there going, I can do that. I'd be like, oh, Mr. Elon, richest man in the world. Hello. Very nice to meet you. Please, even though I already understand I don't want to launch a car brand or put rockets in space, please, you must know some things I don't know. How do you deal with the currency fluctuations? Does inflation impact how much it costs for you to send a rocket into space? Like, I'd ask him something that's useful, right? But some people are so brutally arrogant that they'll sit here and they'll listen to all the things I said, and they'll agree that I'm intelligent, they'll agree I'm not successful, but they'll sit there and go, yeah, but you know what? I'll do it myself. I don't want to join that school. You know, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. Everybody's fucking arrogant. I sit with people who I used to go to school with from Luton who are still broke and tell them how to make money. And you know what they do? They answer back. Yeah, but you know, it's not that simple because, you know, the wife gets the kid, and you know what? And I don't like to do things that way. The way I like to work, the way you like to work is why you're fucking broke. So what the fuck are you talking about? You just sat here and wasted 10 minutes of my time. I told you how to take your business of painting and decorating or whatever the fuck you're doing and make a serious amount of money. And now you're telling me the way you like to work? Then stay fucking broke. The fuck you want me to do? What level of arrogance? But this is people. They'll sit with a multimillionaire and tell you their view. Oh, I think that know when you're out qualified and accept it and learn. So we all do. I can't play piano for shit. The piano teacher walked in here and said, this is what you do. And I said, well, I like to move my hands this way. What kind of dumbass? But this is the arrogance people operate under. So I'd say 20% of people are lazy, 20 to 25%. A large portion of the world are not lazy. They're actually working exceptionally hard, but they're doing the wrong thing. 5% of people are too stupid. So say 25%, 5% is 30%. But 70% of people are brutally arrogant, and this is why they are poor. That's the truth. Good question. I've talked about this already. It was an unorthodox strategy. I've talked about it at length, so I won't give the whole story because it's too long. But I identified a gap. I identified a market. I approached the scenario and the situation extremely professionally. And I worked exceptionally hard. I made my first $1 million. So my first millions came from owning a webcam studio. So I saw a little advertisement in the corner of a webpage saying, talk to live girls now. I've never been a porn guy. I'm not interested in that shit. But I was like, that's interesting. I know some girls who need some money. Boom, boom, boom. I put together this apparatus, extremely professional. No fucking sexual misconduct. No Dan Bilzerian. No threesomes. Nothing. Very professional. Very professional outfit. And I used all my business knowledge, all my life knowledge, and I applied it. I worked 22-hour days, I would say. I got to the point where I was so tired. I said, you know what? Give me 20 minutes. And if I could hear the alarm go off, I'd get up. Sometimes I just slept clean through it and I slept an hour or two. For months and months and months, and I built an empire. I built an insanely large empire at one point. I'm completely out of that business now, but how did I do it?
As in, did you sell it?
I didn't sell it. I just closed it all down. I moved on. I started making a bunch of money and I found other opportunities. But how did I get that opportunity? Perspicacity. First thing I said, pay attention. I paid attention. I looked at the girl. I'll give you the coffee shop example. This is what I did. I clicked on that advert. I saw the girl sitting there, miserable, waiting for a customer. I thought nobody's going to buy from an unhappy bitch. The men who are paying her are trying to escape an unhappy life, or they wouldn't be doing this shit. So when I got my girls online, smile. Happy girls get paid. That was the token. That was the slogan. Happy girls get rich. Joking. Ha ha ha. Who's you going to pay? You're going to pay the girls like, yeah, having a blast. So I paid attention to the competition. I saw an opportunity just like the coffee shop. For all the things they did wrong. The room was messy. Camera quality was shit. There's the basic stuff. The way the girl acted and interacted. All that stuff. And I applied it all by paying attention countless hours watching everybody else, finding the way to do it better. So I put the coffee shop and I did it better. So I was absolutely not perspicacious, and that's how you make money. And I did it with that, but I could have done it with anything. And now I do it with everything. The story of me sending a text message via my network and having a coffee shop is a true story. I've been in there maybe twice. I can't even go. And I have mechanisms in place to make sure I'm not robbed too badly, because unfortunately a little bit of cash goes missing. But everything's in place and it makes me money. I don't think I've even drunk my own coffee. So I put together a list. It needs to be like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. I have competent people who work for me, which is very hard to find, but I do. They understand to follow the doctrine to the doctrine. And I'm getting money into a bank account. That's it. And you can do that with literally anything if you have a strong network and you pay attention. You can do anything. Even podcasts. We're doing a podcast right now. You guys are already big and successful at this. I'm telling you, you can look at the biggest podcasts in the world and still see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. It's just the game. That's the game. And then you have to outcompete everybody else. So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appeared to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet. I'm absolutely and utterly the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people misunderstand me. Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been a lot of high-profile cases where men have been accused of things they did not do without evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed. Right. When I say these things, people sit and say that, oh, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence can go forward and just make up accusations against men, even though they've been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will, Completely. I'm not going to sit here as a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that one small sentence you've taken was from a 1-hour video where I explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the
I think my sister is her husband's property. Yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Perhaps the way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right. So she's
still a sovereign individual. Listen, my friend, if you want to argue about this, you need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious.
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage. And I believe that.
That's not the question.
I believe the father. The father hands her.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
Right, but don't be a politician, because I think you're a straight talker, right? You keep telling me you're a straight talker. I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe. Yeah, but that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the question.
Hang on, you can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said, you've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
It's like me asking you a question now and you say something and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at marriage.
I believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
Right.
Then let me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But
I believe that men.
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not. No. It's
unless they literally buy them as a slave.
Well, obviously, we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else. I understand that very well, Piers.
That's why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrased this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's still what you believed. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
You're asking me, you're saying that young people who are impressionable.
If you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this and I wish I hadn't said it. I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that
it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman. I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over, I must have a degree of authority. Yeah. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. Responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. Yeah. So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have
that's what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
The point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish at this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety of a woman. She was walking alone at night. And I was saying, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand, but if I'm responsible for her safety, and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations. The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should, but ultimately...
If she decides, then I can't force her.
Right, so authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means.
Well, I'm not going to, if you think I'm going to lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if
This is a different description of what authority
If I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe.
Yeah, but authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
I think what you're trying to
I'm only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am. I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority over it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely. But the point I'm trying to make.
So you accept that?
I accept that
you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are
actually really important things.
They're important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds. So it's hard for me to actually explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children and you're responsible for their safety. So you're going to have authority to say, don't go out at night, perhaps because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So
you
we
just
agree.
said. No.
It's the semantics.
No, it's not semantics. And this is where I don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say. With respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways. But we're not. I'm saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife or female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, when it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The authority is something that she would give to me. She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
It's not.
Pierce.
Andrew, stop.
Pierce, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety. Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her. That's a different thing.
That was always my position.
But that's not what you said.
But that was always my position.
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an 18-year-old boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand that. And I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing.
No, actually, I'm not. I don't want to. Okay. I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to work out exactly what you actually
I understand
think.
With massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
Would you change the wording of what you said?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure keep me safe. Like
I see. Now that, Andrew Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
but you haven't been
conversation.
taken out of context, because I read you the entire sentence. It's very
Well, you've ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
But you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety, and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
for
say.
the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds, and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old women.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny.
No, it's not.
Well, being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying the age.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
Is that
not.
what it? But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful. When
you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I just read out.
Why would I walk up to a random 25-year-old woman?
Because you said it in public on the internet, and it's been listened to and watched by millions and millions of young, impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to antagonize them. Which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence I just read out, that paragraph, is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogynist. And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
So you wouldn't say it to a woman's face?
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25.
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Be honest.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance. And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's, who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy. And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Lil Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have, drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid, psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, perhaps. Now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the thing.
You read things that you said they can be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive and misogynist.
Okay, so they offended you. Like I said earlier. So they offended you, which is fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not the devil. There are certainly worse people than me. And
I don't disagree
and they exist.
with that.
And I'm saying that my core tenets for the people who don't understand me are self-accountability, so I'm accountable for everything I've ever said. My core tenets are responsibility, so I'm responsible for everything I've said. My core tenets are traditional masculinity to a degree, which involves protecting and providing for women. And I'll make another point here that needs to be said. The number of women who have stood up and stuck up for me is ignored. Thousands of women are making videos saying, I've met Andrew Tate, he's such a nice guy. I wish I had a man like Andrew Tate who felt responsible to protect and provide for me. You know what? I do belong to my husband, that's why I married him and I love him. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true. And we're taking a very vocal minority who have taken things I've said and are pretending to be absolutely and utterly devastated by them for some reason.
I'll see what your
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is... The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that. This fact that